I am going to get started. I think the last one was a little behind, but we want to get this going. My name is Timaree Hagenburger, and I teach nutrition. I'm a dietitian and nutrition professor. I teach not only regular nutrition, which I teach plant-based, but they just don't know it. I also teach plant-based nutrition and sustainable in a plant-based nutrition and sustainable ag program that we started in Sacramento. So I teach at Cosumnes River College, and some of you know me. Some of you have seen my Foodie Bar way. If you don't have one in your kitchen, you need one. And those of you who already have one, you know how useful it is. It's fantastic. Today I am going to I'm doing a talk at 2:50 as well as part of a panel. But right now I'm going to do 2 recipes for you. One of them is a recipe that's a little change, a little tweak from one that's in the cookbook, and then the other one is something that's not in the book. So it is a bulgur breakfast. So bulgur is a grain that you may be familiar with tabbouleh. So that parsley, that really rich parsley, fantastic salad. But a lot of people don't think about that for breakfast. Now, I am not a breakfast person who only eats breakfast for breakfast and dinner for dinner, and so you can have this any time of the day or night. So it's super easy, and I teach my students how to make this because they burn water, right? So, or they're afraid they're going to burn water, which is actually worse than burning water because then you don't even get in the kitchen. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a fruit. The bulgur is cracked wheat, okay? So it is, all that you need to do is hydrate it with warm water. You don't need to cook it. So that's where they never have to worry about it burning on the bottom, type of thing. So could you do this with quinoa and you do with cooked quinoa and add all the toppings? Absolutely. But I wanted to give them and give you a taste of bulgur if you've never had it. So if you are a celiac patient, this is not for you because this is wheat, right? So, but if you're not, it's fantastic. So we start with, and I get this bulk at my supermarket. I am doing 1.5 cups, and then you just double the water. So it's just 1.5 cups, so 1 cup to 2 cups, or 1.5 to 3 cups. So we're putting in the bulgur. Now, bulgur is easily found at supermarkets, but also at Indian spice markets. So, but at the Indian spice markets, they'll have different grains. So they'll like coarse, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So you want it pretty coarse. If you get like number 4 or 5, it turns into kind of a paste because it's almost like dust, right? So this is also really good added to chili because it gives that kind of chewy, meaty-ish flavor, or not flavor, but texture. Okay, so we have the bulgur. Then we have source of omega-3 fatty acids. What's this going to be? Okay, if it's not flax, because I'm heating it, chia. So I ground the chia. So, the latest info is the best absorption is when you grind, even chia. So, but I just do that the night, usually I'll do this at night. For the week, I'll do it from the freezer if I want to keep it cold for flax for sure. In the little coffee grinder, then in a mason jar. It's usually a 2-cup mason jar, this size. And then I keep that in the fridge. And then I can sprinkle. But for this, just put that in there. So wooden spoon, okay? Not that exciting yet. And then I add cinnamon. Now, this is where the Foodie Bar concept comes in. Because could you add different spices? Absolutely. So I have cinnamon, but could it be pumpkin pie spice? Could it be my pumpkin or my chai spice blend? If you have my cookbook, you know about that chai spice blend. It is so good. Actually, my friend Anne, who's 85 years old, is here today, and she carries it in her purse. in her purse, in one of these with a little top that has a shaker. And she said, you'd be amazed what I put that chai spice on. I put it on salad. I put it on soup. I just whip it out right in a restaurant and just go. But it has turmeric. It has black pepper. That combination's really important for absorption and utilization at the blood level. So options, people. You have options, okay? So what do we want here? We want a teaspoon and a half, okay? So here's a teaspoon, and then let's do the half. Now, the bulgur sits for 30 minutes, but since I didn't have 30 minutes, I had last night. So I made this, and I was up until 1 o'clock in the morning prepping for you. Now, what we're going to do is add something sweet. So how can we add sweet and nutrition at the same time? Dates. This used to be old people food, okay? When I was little, we would go to my grandparents' house, and there would be dried fruit, including these scary-looking things, all shrink-wrapped to a wicker basket. Have you seen these, right? And it's like, what is that? And then some of them had coconut sticking out of them, right? So it was like, that like hit a snowstorm, you know, like, what is that? Little did we know these were like the butterscotch chews they used to, or they sell at C's Candy, right? These are amazing. I have a lot of students that look at me like, what? Oh no, just taste them. One easy thing to do that I do when I run is I will put in a couple walnuts in the middle of a date, and then I wrap those babies up, and I use those when I'm running down the street, okay, if I'm running for a long way. But they're magical. So these are medjool. So there's deglet nor that are smaller, and then there's these big medjool. They have the pits normally, but even if they don't have, if they say pitted, don't trust them, okay? Because one rogue pit in a Vitamix will ruin whatever you're doing, okay? So don't just assume, get in there and make sure that the pit's out. The other thing that I recommend you look for is the black puff. What's the black puff? Some of you know this. Every once in a while, you'll get black mold in there, right? And you'll open it up, and it'll be like, ooh, that was black puff, right? Now, it's not going to kill you, but I just would not rather eat that, right? So, especially in the summertime, when I get a package, a big package of them, they will often all find one that has that black puff, and then none of the other ones. So just check, just keep your eyes, don't do this in the dark, okay? So what you're gonna do is chop it up. And the reason why I showed it to you whole was because I just wanted you to see, I wanted to be able to talk about the pit. Now, the other thing is most people, and I'm gonna give you little tips along the way here, do not know how to hold a knife. It's crazy, they actually hold it by the handle. Okay, now, that may seem normal because it's got a handle, but that's not how you're supposed to hold it. You pinch the blade. Then you wrap those little fingers around it, and that's where you have control. If you hold, like people are afraid, they're going to hurt themselves. That's the most dangerous way you can hold a knife. You have no control. But if you pinch that blade, and it should be balanced, then you wrap those little fingers around, and now you have full control. And now you'll do the rocking motion, okay? So there's a little tip, right? Worth the price of admission. Okay, so we have dates, and I already cut some last night, okay? So I didn't want to waste your time. I'm usually going 100 miles an hour. So then we have apricots. Now, some of you have seen apricots that are amazingly yellow-orange. Like too yellow-orange. That's because they add sulfides to keep them orange, as if we care. I don't care, actually. I would rather have them the way that they are. If you have a beautiful apricot and it sits on your counter, do you expect it to turn into day glow orange? No. It's going to shrivel up like this, like a real apricot. So, no imposters. So I chopped all those. These are, and guess what? It's so fun. When you look at the ingredient list, which is the only place you should ever look on a label, is the ingredient list. Don't waste your time believing anything on the front, okay? You see the word natural? That means nothing, okay? But when you turn this baby over and it says ingredients, organic Turkish apricots, period. That's it. Then you know you have apricots, okay? So that's perfect. Now, I kept these whole because I wanted to show you this is normal. That's what they should look like. But it's amazing how many people got used to this orange and they just said, oh, that's it. I mean, it's almost hard to find these if you're not looking for them. Most of the companies will put those sulfites in them, or sulfur dioxide. And some people are sensitive. I mean, it's not like killing people right and left, but some people are sensitive. They may get migraines, right? We're just adding things to our body that we don't need. Why? We don't need to. Believe me, your little tummy's not going to care what color it is. You're going to feel better this way. So apricots add really nice flavor and sweetness. Now, why wouldn't I just add brown sugar or another liquid sweetener? Yeah, because brown sugar is super refined. All those, we hear a lot about, and I just spoke to someone at my table about carbs, right? So this idea that, we got to reduce our carbs. We need to reduce our processed food, including processed carbohydrate. So when I have students who are adding sugar on top of their Frosted Flakes, that is not helping them at all. However, these are the same people that are saying, oh yeah, no, low carb. I go to In-N-Out and just get the burger protein style, right? Because that bun, that's bringing me down. No, it's probably not, although that bun is white flour. It's crazy. So we want food in its natural form, right? So is an apple, because it has carbohydrate, going to hurt you? No, absolutely not. In fact, you are going to be healthier after, that's not what I wanted. You are going to be healthier after that's okay. We'll go one less apple. Yeah. Wash it though, because I'll still eat it. You're going to be healthier after. Did you know that in the skin of apples is a phytonutrient that turns on the maspin anti-cancer enzyme that will shut cancer down? But if you peel the apples, you are getting rid of that phytonutrient. So when you eat apples, you're actually reducing your risk of cancer. And if you have cancer, you're telling that cancer to go away, those cells to either get fixed, right, with the DNA or commit suicide, apoptosis. So adding apple to food like oatmeal or like this breakfast not only adds wonderful crunch and flavor, but it can save your cells. So, what kind of apple? Well, any apple you want. More color, the better. Here's a Fuji that's super red, even more nutritious than if it was lighter. But even the lighter colors also provide different phytonutrients. So something like cauliflower will have amazing phytonutrients, even though you may think white is not a color. There's special phytonutrients in those. Okay, so we have the fruit, the dried fruit, the chia, the cinnamon, and the bulgur. Now, the dates kind of, get sticky together, but that's okay. Now, hot water. So this was going... I want it to just really boil. And then I'm going to use a plate on top and then a dish towel on top. And it just needs to hydrate for 30 minutes. That's it. And then what you're going to taste is perfect. But I am going crazy for you guys. I am going to make a berry sauce to drizzle on top, just because. More opportunities, and I get to sneak in a food that I love, that you would never expect would be in there. Okay, beauty. So, I put in exactly 3 cups of water in my little kettle, which is awesome. If you don't have a little kettle, it's great. I have one at work. Okay, now I don't want the heat to go out, so I can do some stirring after. So, voila. Okay, so see how easy that is for anybody to do. But a student, my students can do this. Okay. All right, that's it. And then I will stir in blueberries. And I've been really loving adding cranberries. Not dried, but frozen, from the freezer, whole cranberries. And then we're getting into the season where you're going to see them in the supermarket. And you put those cranberry bags right into the freezer. And then rinse them when you take them out, okay, when you're ready to use them. Now, the cranberry might be like, ooh, that's like really tart, because you're used to sweet things. It's such a nice combination. So blueberries, cranberries, very, very good together. So I'm going to wait on that. I need a little cinnamon for my next recipe. Okay. See how hard that was? Okay. Now, we're going to change recipes. But I need this, and my book will not stay up without it. Maybe. Okay. Now, this recipe, I am doing a triple batch because I expected 80 to 90 people, they told me. I don't think we're at that many right now, but people could rush in there. Okay, excellent. So we're making a berry sauce. Now, this berry sauce is also featured in the Foodie Bar Way cookbook, and it is part of a dessert nacho bar. So in your wildest dreams, could you imagine going to, let's say, a department meeting, which I have a friend who teaches she teaches math at my school at Cosumnes River College, and she's department chair of the math department. And so when they have math meetings, she brings dessert nachos. So you make the chip, and in my book I show you how to do that, and then you make sauces, and you have all kinds of fruits, you have all kinds of toppings, and everybody makes their own plate of dessert nachos. So fun. So, that is like a dream department meeting. Okay. Now, what do I have in here? I want to add sweetness. Dates. They are soaking. Now, if you have a Vitamix, you really don't have to pre-soak things. However, this just works really well. So, I have tripled this recipe, and so the recipe's in the book, but there's dates. And then do we have, I'm going to say, I decided to do all sunflower seeds because I know sometimes we have cashew allergies. So hopefully there's no one allergic to sunflower seeds. If you are, I'm sorry. Water. So sunflower seeds raw. Now, what's another reason, there's actually many reasons, but what's another reason why I would want to use sunflower seeds instead of cashews? A little bit. The biggest issue actually is cost and nutrition and sustainability. It's much easier to grow sunflower seeds, so as far as the planet, it's a better choice. Nutrient profile is really good, and they're so accessible. I get the 1 pound raw sunflower seeds at Trader Joe's for $1.99. Cashews are $6.99, $7.99, right? At the minimum for them. And the nut allergies. Sunflower seeds grow here in California. Yes. Exactly. So it's a huge impact. And this will work. It works great. Now, can you make the sauce without any seed or nut? Absolutely. No question. Okay? But this, it's really good. I want to challenge you to use as much of the sunflower as you can if you have a recipe that calls for cashews. Now, my recipes in my book do not call for 2 cups of a nut. I see some of these recipes, because I'm a dietitian. Like, I do not want you to go down with, 700 calories per bite, of some of these. I mean, nuts and seeds are great, but really, we got to tone it down a little bit. So in this recipe, I use 1 tablespoon as a single batch, right? So could you leave it out? No question. But I would challenge you in other recipes that you see, if there's cashews, try using the unroasted, right? The raw sunflower seeds, okay?
How long did you soak them?
Oh, it could be anywhere from 5 minutes. I do it overnight just because I had it. But if you want to speed it up really fast, you could put it in with hot water. But again, if you have a Vitamix, you don't need to do it at all. It's just because I knew the night before, I was going to do this. So we have dates and we have sunflower seeds. And then we have vanilla. It's so expensive. Oh, I had to get some. And it's just ridiculously expensive. But vanilla. I love you that much. I told my kids, no, I'm not buying it anymore. That's it. But then World Veg Fest, So don't tell my kids. I hid it in the back of the pantry. Because they're like, oh, vanilla, I make this. I'm like, nah, do you know how much that costs? Okay. Lemon, right? This is a lemon. So why, some of you old schoolers that are my people from before, you've seen me before, why would I or you use the zest of a lemon in a recipe? Okay, so besides flavor, it helps reduce your risk of skin cancer because it protects the little skin of this beautiful fruit, so it protects your skin as well. So I like a little clean zest. That lemon just kind of cuts. It's just nice in there. So you can put that in there. And then we're going to do berries. So this is mixed organic berries, blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries. Okay, so they were frozen. Why don't I buy fresh berries? Any ideas? Okay, not only the cost, but what's the other issue? They mold between my shopping cart and my house. I don't know how that works out. I'm in the produce aisle. I'm checking. I'm looking underneath. I'm shaking them. No mold. Okay, I got one. Put it in my cart. Get home. 5 of them are stuck together and there's white mold in there. No. So, frozen. And the other issue with frozen is they're ready when you want them. And they are picked ripe. So if you wait for, let's say, a mango. So you buy a mango at the supermarket. Is it nice and soft? And no, they're hard as a rock. Why? Because they have to ship them from wherever they're grown, right? And in that process, if they were ripe, they'd be gone. So what do? Get them frozen, right? Because they have to pick them and then they process them within like an hour, 2 hours. So mangoes, get them frozen. More nutrition, okay? Unless you're growing mangoes, well, that's fine, you grow mangoes. But if you're not growing them, then I would highly recommend frozen. Because a lot of people are like, oh, frozen, Now, secret. I don't know if I can trust you with this secret. What is this? What is my favorite? These are beans. Beans. Yes, beans. Beans are the one food. These are butter beans, but it can be any. Any beans, any white beans. You could do black beans, you could do any beans. But beans are the one food that's linked with longevity around the world. The closest link with longevity. What are legumes? What do they include? Beans, peas, lentils. Okay, all the varieties. I have a friend who grew 54 different varieties of legume. Amazing. That was his business. Amazing. Right outside of Lodi, Stockton area. Okay, so Vitamix time. All right. So now, this is definitely not a recipe that you want to make at a party in front of people. Okay? Because they're going to be like, oh, that's why I told you. I don't know if I could trust you. Okay? But I think I can. So, see, I don't like doing this backwards. I'm going to move it. Okay. So I want to see thickness. You can always add more water. So this is actually probably pretty good. I don't want to thin it too much. Anybody willing to try taste? I might thin it a little bit. Okay. See if we can. I think I forgot the cinnamon. I did. Okay. Listen to that woman. Smart cookie. Okay. I think I might add just a smidge of water. I just don't want it to be too thick. Now, let's say I did oops and I got it too thin, right? Because that happens sometimes. Like, ooh. So if you didn't have any more berries, you could add chia or flax, okay? And it would thicken it up, all right? Okay. All right. Now, the other thing I keep, oh, it's so beautiful. Look how beautiful it is. Okay. The other thing I keep is squeeze bottles. Okay. These are magical. In my cookbook, The Foodie Bar Way, I also have lots of dressing recipes. And so I keep them in squeeze bottles when I'm ready to serve. Okay, so we're going to drizzle on your samples. Okay. Now, you could thin this out even more, but could you imagine this on dessert nachos? Now, sometimes what I do for dessert nachos to make it super easy is I make the chips just by cutting up slices of apple and putting those on and then drizzling, and then doing nuts and cacao nibs, and so fun. But there's lots of examples in the book. That is the only way that people can support me, because I give everything else for free. So on my website, thenutritionprofessor.com, all my videos, all my everything I do, my podcast, everything, I don't charge for any of that. So the only thing I do is sell my book, and that's so that I can come to you in your kitchen. Because this is what my students say. Could I live with you? No. Could you live with me? No. Okay, but that's the closest thing I've got, is sending me to you. So I have a table out there, and all the books, if you wonder, they're all in my garage. So my husband's not excited because we can't fit the car in there. But that's what it is right now. Okay, so the sauce is going to be cold. And so the whole thing is going to be cold. It's chilled. I chilled it from last night. So don't expect it to be hot. Could you enjoy it hot? Absolutely. And you guys are getting something special. Because I normally don't do the sauce on top of the bulgur. I'll make my bulgur, and then I will have it all week. So I'll put it in little containers, like the mason jars, stick them in the fridge, and then every day I just grab one and I'm out the door. And I pour in some milk, some plant-based milk sometimes, put it in there, put in a little flax, maybe a little amla powder, walnuts, and then I'm out. And that was all it took for the whole week for breakfast. Okay, so pretty cool. Are they going to kick me out anytime soon? What time is it? Right. I want to be respectful of the next speaker. So I want to show you what the bulgur. So it's just been sitting, right? So that's it. That's what it looks like. And then you stir it up. Can you see it? I just don't want the whole thing to fall. Can you see it? So it just took up that water. And then you just mix it. And you can see the steam coming. But it took up all the water at that ratio. And then this is when I would stir in the blueberries, right? Or cranberries or what have you. And you can do that for the whole week. So I hope you like it. Yeah, I think I'll wait on these. So I wasn't sure how many people we would have to serve. So, yeah. So what questions do you have? I do. Yeah, no, I do. I'm going to actually leave this, let it sit, just because I don't need it right this second. I do. The only thing, now, sometimes I even add in beans, like our Bonzo beans, the morning of. I know that sounds a little bit loopy, but I'm always trying to get beans in there, okay? So, and it's really, really good, or black beans. As you're coming in, if you wanted a sample. Oh, okay. Just in the back. All right. So, yeah. So anyway, yes, I do add the apple. But then some weeks I will make pear. Some weeks I just change it up. I would do any version, nectarine, whatever's, in season. I really like apple and pear together, but pineapple would be delicious. Mango. I mean, you play. That's the Foodie Bar way. That idea that, sometimes at my table, people think, oh, the Foodie Bar is just for families. Like to have a big bar, to have No. The Foodie Bar is the mentality about mix and match. I don't have cilantro. No problem. Parsley will work. Oh, I don't have bulgur. No problem. Use cooked quinoa. That'll work. Oh, well, I don't have blueberries. Well, that's fine. Use raspberries. Use strawberries. Just make I'm allergic to whatever. That's fine. You're allergic to cashews? Use sunflower seeds, right? And then every week you could change it up. You could literally have a different bulgur breakfast every day of the week, right? Every week of the year you could change up the combinations just by changing up the spices. So this one that you're tasting is apricot, date, and apple, and then with cinnamon, and then was the 3-berry sauce. Now, did it scream beans, the sauce? No. That's why you don't tell them. You just say, oh, I made this amazing sauce. We're going to have, oh, yeah, that's good. And never. And please, don't ever serve food and say, this is healthy. You'd be much better off saying, death by chocolate, or, death by berry sauce. Oh, really? It's very decadent. I don't know if you can handle the decadence, right? Okay? Now, that, obviously is code for legumes are in there, but you don't say that. You just say, I don't know, it's pretty rich. I don't know if you can handle it. It's pretty sweet. Oh, no, I'm avoiding sweet things, Well, this is natural sweetness, right? Did it scream dates to you? I mean, no, it's just sweet, berries, it's on, right? You can imagine, could you imagine, do you ever need to buy maple syrup again? Could you put that on pancakes? Could you put that on waffles? Oh, yeah. Let the ideas, fruit salads, spread that all over fruit salad, right? Really, really good ideas. I don't know. I've never done it. It's just so quick. I'm sure it would be just fine, but you probably just But in that time, it's so darn fast. It's just it's very quick. And it lasts for several days in the fridge. Unless you have people who, in the middle of the night. which happens. Any other questions that you have? Yes. I'm glad.
What are your pros and cons for like bulgur wheat for that breakfast?
Right. They're all different grains. So the idea, and if you haven't followed, and I usually talk about a lot of different things when I speak, but one of the biggest emphasis now is on the microbiome. So this, idea of gut health. And there's a huge nationwide microbiome study, a gut study, where people are sending in samples of their waste products, and they're analyzing it to get their microflora, their gut flora. And they found the number one factor that determines the health of your microbiome is diversity. So the idea of always having the same things, even if they're all great things, is not as helpful as changing things up. So if you're an oatmeal person, that's great, but throwing in bulgur a little bit, and then quinoa, because they all have different nutrient profiles. So there's no wrong answer. The only would be just the same old with limited, because I do have students who say, oh yeah, I eat oatmeal just plain. And they're eating like the instant oats, which is, if you've ever hung wallpaper, right? I mean, we're talking, and, or I don't like oatmeal. It's like, oh, let's try this. Oh, well, I didn't know that there's texture in apple, and then something else too. Like with the apples, if you like crunchy, then don't add them until it's totally hydrated. And then you add the apples and they stay raw crunchy. Or if you like them partially kind of softened, then you do it like the ones that you tasted. I had added the apple when I added the hot water. So it cooked the apples a little bit. But if you like it crunchier, or do half and half. So you get a crunchier bite, but that you can change things up just right and left. Options. It's so crazy because people will say, oh, what do you eat? And you've heard this, right? When oh my gosh, what's left? And it's like, oh yeah, like 20,000 things. Like I cut out 7 species and I gained like 20,000. But that idea of options is so helpful. It's just like there are so many options. And so I hope you leave today's Veg Fest with that feeling of like unlimited. Like my limitation is the amount of time I can spend in the kitchen, because I have more recipes than I could imagine wanting to make. I mean, it's just unlimited. So I hope this begins your journey or continues it along. And now, exit stage right. Thank you.
What is your website that has the recipes?
TheNutritionProfessor.com.
The new